Hey team, not sure what my cool YouTube channel like slogan is gonna be yet, but anyway. All right, so you have read Saturday Climbing. If you haven't, you're behind. Get on it. So yeah, I'm just gonna go over it with you, and then we'll talk about the story that I assigned like this morning. So just a couple things, like make sure you all have YouTube accounts through your Clearview email. So if you want to like follow my channel, but I'll post them on Classroom all the time anyway, so that you can watch it. And feel free to leave me any comments or feedback or things that you want me to cover. If you have any questions, like before each lesson or like after you read a story, if there's something you're confused about, like that would be helpful for me. This story you should not have had any problems with. It's extremely straightforward and easy to follow. So with Saturday Climbing, remember I was saying that the focus was an extended metaphor. So obviously we see the father-daughter relationship, focusing on like trust and like letting go of your children and letting them go off in the world. It's the parallel is them climbing the mountain. Okay, so that should have been quite clear. I looked at a few of you submitted your stuff and it looks really good. Looks like you guys had a really good handle on the story. Like I said, it should be very straightforward. Okay, and then our two main characters obviously are Barry, the dad, and Moira, the daughter. And the main themes you should have been like looking for was like, yeah, like trust, letting go, that father-daughter bond or relationship, how that can be like tumultuous at times. The father not really knowing how to like navigate a teenage daughter. I know I was an absolute terror. I was not pleasant, especially to my poor mother, but you know, it happens. Also make sure you fill in that vocabulary, okay? I know some of you kind of are just doing the annotating or like we're wondering about doing like the questions, so everything is needed. I'm just looking through someone who submitted theirs. Whoa, looks so good. Yeah, I hope you found this story engaging. I thought it was a really sweet little story, right? It's nice to read. Okay, I'll just go through it quickly. I have the paper one obviously, but so some of the language in here too is like climber related, that lingo, that jargon. But even throughout the story, you can see that the dad's kind of like uncertain in his decision making, like, so that reflects climbing and his relationship with her, right? So right at the beginning of the story, like grunting with the strain, he stood up on his right leg, then paused, uncertain of his next move. So again, he's like unsure of where to go, and that's like reflecting the relationship, right? He's unsure like how to navigate his crazy teenage daughter. Not that all teenage girls are crazy. I know some of you are just lovely. I was not. I was quite moody and terrible. Okay. Personification right off the bat, right? The cliff had proven to be deceptive. So again, that's kind of like a personality trait if you're being deceptive or hiding something. Like a cliff can't do that. And some nice setting there, like gravel-like surface. Okay, it's explaining everything. And it starts off easy. So again, paralleling their relationship, right? When a child is little, it might be easier. And then once they start developing their own personality and want to make their own choices and their own sass, it gets harder. A simile on that, I just labeled the pages like 1, 2, 3, 4. So just, it's the same as your handout. The thought fitted through his mind that it would be like falling from the top of a 6-story building. Okay, very straightforward simile. On page 2, there's a nice metaphor right at the start about like a wounded animal. And we see too his character of he's fearful of the climb and like where to go next. Like when he's saying, "You all right?" His daughter called. "Yeah," he lied, "just resting." His voice sounded faint and breathy. He was glad she could not see his momentary weakness. Announcement.
Just a quick announcement for any staff in the building. There's some homemade chicken noodle soup complimentary of paddles. So anyone would like some soup, please come to the staff room now.
Free soup. I'm teaching. Okay. So again, he's scared, like, but he doesn't want his daughter to see that he's fearful. So he's trying to like keep it together for her. So kind of showing his character. Good character description of Moira, the daughter. So she's a redhead, gleamed like a burnished cap. You're doing fine, she hollered. So she's trying to like reassure him, support him. Okay, and we see that parallel later in the story when she's saying like, I'm aware of what's out in the world and like I'm gonna be fine. You can tell the dad, the top of page 3, he's very insecure about their relationship, but he's trying to improve it and make it better. Like he even asks questions to his students, like, what can I do? So a really nice quote that kind of symbolizes that theme is like, the caged bird proves nothing but the power of its captor. So again, showing like you need to let go and trust the caged bird. Like you can't keep someone caged and overprotected, that helicopter parent problem. Okay, you gotta let them go, be free, go find yourself. Okay, similes, hyperboles on this page. The cliff seemed to sway as if it was an earthquake. His bones trembled. Okay, I mean your bones, you can shake as a person, but your bones inside your flesh, right? Trembling, bit of a stretch there. And a lot of theme right on page 3. He's trying to mend their relationship, and he's very attentive for character. He's very attentive to what she says. He hears her say that she wanted to do like the West Coast Trail, or she spoke admirably about it. So then that's why he enrolls them in those like classes, the climbing classes. Top of page 4, like he feels distant from her. He feels helpless. He doesn't know how to navigate their relationship, just like the climb. He doesn't really know how to navigate it. But you can tell that he cares very deeply for her. He just feels so helpless, right? And if she had straight up said like, that's right, I'm smoking dope 6 joints a day, blah, 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 other things. But her attitude is just that of a teenager, right? So kind of sneering, attitude changed, and a little bit boy crazy, right? There's mostly boys in this climbing class, and she's like, ooh, yay. The last part of page 4, when Barry began with an attitude that was typical of someone raised on the prairies, anything over 3 feet was a substantial elevation. So I put this pink, okay, because that is very much me, personal connection, right? I used to be so scared of heights growing up on the prairies. We don't have it, but I started climbing just like last year, and it was super, super scary at first, and now I really enjoy it, and it's a good sense of like personal accomplishment. But holy man, does it kill your arms. Yeah, so he gave some thought about dropping out of the class, but realized that after the fuss he had made about the fees, he would look like a dreadful hypocrite. So even he's kind of like, I don't want to do it, but he's doing it for his daughter so they can bond. Okay, trying to build that relationship. And even some of the guys from the class are like coming over to their house, and she's even letting him help them like tie knots. So he's like kind of a part of things. So it's maybe getting better. Okay. And then when you see that like climbing, he said, climb on, Moira answered. That's typical of like climbing jargon. So whoever's belaying, right? The climber, climb on, climbing, like I'm ready. Okay, so climbing, you really need to have effective communication skills. So this is like helping build their relationship. Okay, so creating trust there, right? And a nice simile, the thought of giving her so much responsibility was like the prick of a thorn. Okay, so and even though she's in grade 12, she's only 16 and she's trying to go to college, right? And so that's like, oh, she's too young, I can't let her go, what's gonna happen? And he's questioning on page 5 there at the bottom, like he's questioning his ability as a parent, right? Could I have done things better, right? What should I have done differently? He recounts an argument they had about her like going out all night. Okay, and there's like, if he had kept a girl out all night, her father would have met them with a shotgun. And he says, good girls, he said, quoting something he'd heard in adolescence, don't stay out all night, good fathers, she shot back, don't think the worst of their daughters. So she's like testing him to like trust her, right? Like, why do you think I'm gonna go do something bad? Like, you should trust me. And so again, that's like that relationship. And when you're climbing and you have the belay, like it's all about trust, because they're literally the ones that will catch you if you fall. And again, that like, I want to stay out till 3, you're coming home at 12, and then they settle on like 1 o'clock, right? So that manipulation too of a teenage girl, like he feels he's been checkmated, right? So comparing it to like a chess match, trying to decide. And I'm sure some of you have had these arguments with your parents. I know I did. But yeah, good times. Okay. And a hyperbole there is if it was as if Barry were in danger of being pulled backward by the sheer weight of his memories. So his memories are like almost making him fall back. They're just weighing so heavily on him. Okay, and then on the bottom of page 6, he like looks down at her as he's climbing and she looks so small. And then he recounts a moment where she had ingested a bunch of aspirin as a child and had to go to the hospital. So again, moments like that, you realize how fragile like your child's life is and you want to protect them and always make sure they're okay. And so maybe that's why, again, it's hard for him to like let go of her. He sees her as fragile, right? Intricately constructed of fragile paper. Okay, so they keep climbing. And then there's a moment of vulnerability, right? I thought you were in trouble, Moira said. I thought you were too, he replied. Matching his weakness, says he, matching his weakness with hers, then ashamed, admitted, like I gripped. Okay, so again, being like, I was in trouble too. Like we both kind of were struggling. And so him showing that moment of vulnerability allows her to try to meet him halfway a little bit, right? Developing that trust, saying like, I'll come home at Christmas. Classes are out in April. It's not as if I'm going to be gone for a long time, right? It's like she's trying here to kind of meet him halfway a little bit. It's just so unexpected was all that he could manage. I've got to leave sometime. The house will be so empty, he wanted to say. How will I get used to being alone? It's as if you lost your first tooth only last year, as if I took you to kindergarten 6 months ago. You're barely rid of your braces. And I'm sure, I mean, obviously, I don't know. I don't have any offspring aside from Wilbur. But I'm sure a lot of parents feel this way, right? Like, you're growing up so fast. How are you going to college already? Like, it'll be so different without you. And she's saying, like, I'm a young adult, right? I got to leave sometime. I can't stay your, like, little girl forever, essentially. And then just some character of, like, when she's the index finger rubbing the side of her nose, he knows, like, her tell, right? He knows her well. That this was her sign that she's going to tell him something or confess something she's done wrong. And again, she's like, I'm not innocent. Like, I'm aware of what's going on in the world. Like, there's lots of opportunities. Like, I'm not this naive child is kind of what she's trying to say. Like, you should be able to trust me. And then the student who had like talked to him and he never saw her again, right? And their relationship, he said her father was a prominent lawyer. So maybe just referencing to that relationship's maybe like turbulent as well. And so then the tables have turned. And so when Moira says, I want to lead this pitch. So pitch is like a section of climbing. And so when you lead it, you're the one who hooks everything up. So again, that swap, right? Now she's moving on to a new stage of her life. She's going to be taking the lead. Her father's not going to be leading anything for her. And he needs to trust her. So extremely parallel, extended metaphor of their relationship. And then the bottom half, like of page 9 here, it's just very much symbolic of like, you can't live in fear that something bad will happen. They reference someone who fell when climbing and injured themselves. And that's just symbolic of life. Like, he can't live in constant fear that something's going to always go wrong or something's going to be bad, right? You need to climb on, essentially. Fearlessly climb into the unknown and trust that someone's going to be there to catch you if you do fall, and it's not always going to end badly, right? She has her dad's support with the rope, so it's not going to always like end badly. Like, he'll be there for her. On page 10, nice metaphor, right? The skin of like molded wax, simile, as if any noise would disturb the delicate balance between life and death. And I like this sentence here, grounded out is what they called it, because his safety had not been properly set. He had grounded out. Barry remembered that the Air Force had been like that too. Pilots never failed. They washed out. They never died. They bought it. Grounded out. The semantics covered up the fear. It's kind of like words and titles. Instead of like saying like, oh, you're going to die, it's like, oh, you've grounded out or blah, blah. It just makes it sound better, so it takes away that fear of the ominous word of like death and dying. Okay? And in his mind, he's like, don't climb, it's dangerous. Let's go back the way we came. Let's make sure it's safe. But again, she's climbing on. And then she says, the world seeks balance. extremism begets extremism. So begets two meanings to bring about. So like extremism brings out extremism, but that word also means like bringing a child into the world. So there's that like dual meaning of that statement she's making. So very, again, symbolic and paralleling like their relationship. And then at the end there, right, he watched her, ever watchful, full of fear, smoothly paid out the rope, determined to give her all the slack she needed, while at the same time keeping his hands tense, ready to lock shut, ready to absorb the shock of any fall. So again, he's letting her go off to college, climb that wall, and that's their relationship, right? If anything goes wrong, he's ready to catch her, but he's gonna be there and let her go and give her slack, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, really cute story. I really like it. Okay, so you need to annotate it and do those questions and do that chart and do all the stuff associated with it. And then I did assign a new story called The Possibility of Evil by Shirley Jackson. Okay, that's our next story. And it is a really good story as well. Very simple, very straightforward. So Shirley Jackson, I don't know if you should have before read The Lottery, the one where they all take a slip of paper and the person who ends up with like the dot. So every family takes one, and if that family's selected, then each family member takes one. Whoever gets the slip with the black dot in the center gets stoned to death, like with rocks. So she's a very interesting writer. So there's some questions assigned with it and the story. So again, do the same thing, like annotate it. I don't have the same like chart doc for this story, but you can just make a new doc and like paste your annotations and explain them like in that exemplar I posted. If you have any questions, of course, just ask. But we'll discuss this story tomorrow. So yeah, have that one read and all that. It's very simple, but you're looking at, can you seek out evil? Would you know evil if it was like deceptive? Would you be able to pick out who is kind of evil and who is not? Yeah, that is all, I think. Okay, so again, yeah, just check. Tomorrow I'll try and do the YouTube live because I've put my code in or whatever. And then if not, if you guys would rather do like a Google Hangout or whatever, I haven't really tried it, but feel free to leave me ideas. And you guys look to be doing well. Okay, so just to reiterate, as the government has mandated that if you do not do any of the stuff, okay, like you won't pass this course. So like school is still continuing. So just do the best you can to like make it through, okay? Because if you do not, you will be repeating this course. And obviously won't have any tests anymore. So some of like this annotating now is gonna be weighted heavier than it usually would because that's the way I can assess you, okay? So just put your best efforts into everything that I have, okay? And if you have any advice on how to make my channel more awesome, just let me know, okay? And make sure you're annotating and la la la. So once we do short stories, I'm going to try and do the film study because I think I can post the movie on Classroom. We'll do Lord of the Flies, The Crucible, and then we're done. That's it. So as soon as we finish all these things, that's it for this semester, okay? And you still have spring break, so I won't be like posting all the videos during spring break. Okay, but as you can see, I'm in school, still coming to school. But yeah, that's all. And I hope you guys have a great day. Follow my channel. I'm going crazy. Okay, bye.